Welcome, welcome. Come on in to Moments of Empowerment and Inspiration with Dr. Bev, aka Bev Duffy Martin. Oh, we are excited. And most of you that's been following know that our little theme for this portion is winning in spite of the challenge. Now, if you haven't been challenged, I just tell you, pray for me, put me on your prayer list because I have been challenged. And we have had such phenomenal guests. And today is really the top of the chart. We have a young lady that's a millennial that is just so sharp and talented. I've just been so blessed. And so I'll talk about her in just a few moments. Many of you were on last week, and we had Dr. Prince Parker from Spain, and he was dealing with winning in spite of misogyny. And somebody said, well, what was he talking about with that? And that was dislike or contempt for ingrained prejudice against women. And it happens all over the world. But what he shared with us is where this really originated, and that was in the garden. And with sin came this, I should say, this boundary that said a woman is less than a man and that we were subservient. And so he began to take that scripturally and tell us who we are. So I will encourage you to go back and look on YouTube and listen to Dr. Prince Parker. And better yet, you can go on Amazon and order the book Misogyny by Prince Maurice Parker, Dr. Prince Maurice Parker. Now I say Maurice in it because he said you would be amazed at how many Prince Parkers there are across the country. And so I encourage you to go and take a listen. So I want you to welcome Miss Sade Dike. And then she's got a name that rhymes, and she does a lot of rhyming. So help me welcome her. You can do it right there in your home. Put your hands together, and guess what? You are in for a treat. Welcome, Miss Sade Dike.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
You know, and I feel good having a millennial here that with all the wisdom and places God has taken you. And at first, you had so much. You had so many, I should say, a plethora of experiences. So I thought for sure you hadn't been born in the U.S. But I found out you had your mom from Chicago area, your dad actually from Nigeria,
Yes.
which brought that international piece. And mom was away in college, and so was dad. And they were all in this area when they hooked up.
Yep.
And guess what? God said, up in the heavenlies, come on down, Sade.
Yeah.
And so God has gifted you in so many ways. And you were educated right here at CJ, am I correct?
Yep. Chaminade Julienne.
All right, all right. Chaminade Julienne student. And then you went away to my husband's alma mater for undergrad.
Yeah.
And that was Howard University.
Yes, Howard University.
What was that like? Can you tell us a little bit about your experience? I know kids that went in and never came out.
Right.
But anyway, but tell me about
Right.
it.
Howard for me was an opportunity to be small again.
Okay.
I was really active here in Dayton as a speaker, as a poet young. And I knew if I attended Howard University after walking that campus, it was an opportunity for me to be small again. And whenever you're small, it's like you're a dry sponge. And if you go to a place where there's a lot to grow and learn, you become a full sponge. And that was really how I saw Howard. I knew it was going to be a place that did challenge me. I knew it was going to be a place that stretched me. I knew it was going to be a place that exposed me to things that I would have never been exposed to had I not positioned myself in a place of, something so different from where I come from.
Right. And Howard just has, I just observed when I went there with my husband, such professionals and people in arenas and places that you never would. Here in Dayton, of course, we've got lots of great people here, but it was like a stretch, like you said. It was areas that I never would have imagined.
Yes.
And So instead of going there like some of my little friends to have a good party, you went there to
No.
absorb and learn.
I went to absorb excellence.
Mm,
Howard is a place where if you go to the campus and you feel the energy,
mm,
you'll understand the character of excellence and
mm-hmm.
why many graduates can be known as being very formidable individuals because everything has its challenges, and I mean
Okay.
everything from your housing
Okay.
to making sure that your
Mm-hmm.
financial aid is in order, to
Okay.
just so many things that you think be seamless and can
Okay.
seem irritating on the surface, but really cause us to build character to push forward no matter what was in
Okay.
front of us. And I really value Howard for that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then you ended up going to grad school
Mm-hmm.
in San Diego. Was that correct?
Yes, I went to
Mm-hmm.
grad school at UC San Diego, University of California,
Wow.
San Diego, in their IRPS program.
Okay.
IRPS,
Explain that. Yes.
IRPS stands for International Relations and
Mm.
Pacific Studies. The Pacific is the Asian region of the world,
Okay.
of which all majors were focused on, and mine was Chinese. Chinese is
Wow.
my second language. I had an opportunity to study there while I was a student at Howard,
Wow.
at Nanjing Dashui, which is in the southernmost portion of China.
Okay.
And yeah, so I went
So
there for
how long did
international
you stay
business and
there?
Chinese. I was in China properly for 7 months. I
Right.
studied a summer and a semester.
Wow, that is awesome. Now, this is just in my mind.
Hmm.
Does the Chinese language, is there any similarity to
Hmm.
maybe say the Vietnamese or other Asian languages?
So Chinese is, in fact, the original Asian language, and it's known as as the original Oriental language.
Okay.
So when you
Okay.
look at the foundation of what
Mm-hmm.
is Japanese,
Right.
what is Cantonese, what is Taiwanese,
Mm-hmm.
um, some Korean, also. I don't believe Vietnamese, but essentially they all have
Mm-hmm.
rudimentary characters that
Okay.
align to the
Okay.
original ancient Oriental character system. But what makes Chinese different from all of those
Okay.
other Asian languages is that it is
Mm-hmm.
the only one without an alphabet. So Japanese,
Oh,
Cantonese,
really?
all of these other Asian languages, they have alphabets. However, Chinese,
Well, I
there is
didn't know
no
that.
alphabet.
There's
It's
no
strictly
alphabet?
character and sound. And
Okay.
every sound has a tone, and there are
Wow.
up to 4 tones per sound. And the
My
sound,
goodness.
is introduced in what they call pinyin, which is a way for foreigners to be able to enunciate it in a
Okay.
comprehensive
So
way.
how many sounds are there?
Four, and it's based,
Four
well,
sounds.
almost the sounds. I mean, there's infinity and
The
beyond.
okay, with these characters.
Yes.
So is there a
So one
certain
character
okay
to
has four?
so okay.
Okay.
All
Help me
right. Okay.
understand
Right.
this now.
Okay. So
Okay.
one. This is actually a rule in the language.
Okay.
Almost every character has their own sound.
Okay.
Okay. So that does help a lot because if you remember the character, you know the sound
Okay.
of that character.
Okay.
Now, every sound has 4 tones. Based
Okay.
on the intonation you give that sound determines which of the 4 characters it is. For
Mm.
example, if I say my ma,
Mm.
if I say first tone mother, there's a
Mm.
character for mother. If
Okay.
I say ma, last tone, fourth tone, it means in exclamation. It means in exclamation. So in
Okay.
fact, all it is an exclamation of sound.
Okay.
If I say ma, which is third tone, I'm asking a question. That is how
Okay.
I end a question. So if I want to say ni hao ma, right, which is a
Mm-hmm.
common Chinese colloquial for how are you, ni hao
Okay.
ma, the
Okay.
ma is the question portion of
Okay.
it. So you add that at the end. So now it's a question, and that looks different as well. And then you have ma second tone, which is horse. And of course, that character looks different, right? So, what
Yeah.
allows individuals who
Mm-hmm.
speak and understand the language to keep going if your
Sure.
tone isn't correct? it's usually
Okay.
context. You know, if you're talking about your mom or horse,
Sure.
you're asking a
Yeah.
question. You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah.
really where it gets different. But
Yeah, I'd seen this you know, they do comical things, how someone was had actually given the wrong tone or language to
yeah,
something, and they asked for
yeah,
something in a restaurant,
yeah.
and of course the waiters were going,
Like, what are you
so
doing?
all of a sudden they bring a dog out, you know, so it's like,
It can happen,
and
right? Mom, horse, right? I'm asking for my mom. They might bring you a horse. And as much as you think that sounds like irrational. So when I moved to China, I didn't speak any Chinese. Just a quick
Okay.
story. I got a lot of scholarship money, and that was really what inspired me to go there.
Okay.
But I didn't learn any of the language before I got there, which was a very bad idea. In the city I moved to, nobody really spoke English. Like, I mean, pretty much nobody spoke English. Unless I was on campus, nobody's speaking English.
Oh
and even
my
on campus,
goodness,
nobody
that
really
sounds
spoke
like
English.
such a challenge.
Oh my goodness, it was okay. And I got tricked because I was told that all my classes would start in English and then change into Mandarin once we move into the proper semester,
Okay,
right?
okay.
English summer, move into Mandarin during the semester. It started with Mandarin. So the joke was on me, but how did that really translate into real life? So I was trying to hail a cab with a friend, and long story short, we got in this cab and we couldn't pronounce our address to save our life.
Oh.
I mean, if you ask us, we were saying it the right way the whole time, but it was the tones, quite literally the tones. Now, you know, we're talking numbers, you know,
Right.
we're talking locations, work with me. Nah. So that moment, in fact, you know, since we're talking about overcoming challenges, talk about patience and trusting yourself. I mean, because we got kicked out of the cab. We got kicked out of like 4 cabs, swear. And it was raining and it was nighttime. And when you talk about what it takes to remember what's important, so your safety is guaranteed. To this day, I can pronounce my address in Nanjing, China, because of that.
Because of what you went through.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
Oh, wow. And to get kicked out.
Yeah. No mercy. Zero.
You know, now people are like on their phones,
Yeah.
and getting translated so that they can just even, you know, converse with you,
which is nice too. If you had that,
but if you had that, but you didn't
when
have
I was
that.
there, it was like 2007.
Oh Lord!
I went very underprepared. Let me say that I went extremely underprepared. So yeah.
So, but guess what? You're a quick learner.
Thank God, I remained adaptable.
Yes. And so, that right there within itself is just, as they say, within itself is interesting, and it would make a person say, "Hey, I better get it together before going anywhere."
Yeah.
And I've had some challenges overseas.
Sure.
Yeah, I've had some challenges, so I understand. And your theme is going to be so exciting tonight, and it's 7 strategies for overcoming challenges. Yes. You know, we're talking about challenges, and like you say, everywhere in life, there's a challenge. In fact, there's a challenge every day, and it's the way we handle it is our success. And I'm excited about you, and I like to say you're an author, and this new book that's coming out. Can you just give us a snippet?
Yes, actually, when we get into the strategies, what I'll begin with is a big portion of how I'm introducing power to students in the book. So the book is called The Rubric. You don't have to be a perfect student to win. And in it, I'm really showing students how to become the champions of their own story. Really live a life by design, based on their mindset, based on their exposure, and based on the gumption and trust in self to really activate and believe that you can really create the life you want. And I show them through this with college at the core. But really, college is only one pathway. It's about education. But the pathway of college, I show them through my own experience. I didn't get in when I first applied to Howard. I had to contest. And then I got in, but I didn't have no money. And I knew I didn't have no money going in, but it didn't matter because all they had to do was let me in. And then I accumulated over $650,000 in grants, international opportunities,
Wow.
internships, fellowships, scholarships. And I show students how I did that in the book. I show them examples and really prepare them, set them up to win. So
That's
that
awesome.
when they take on that process, they feel more confident about it if they choose that pathway. So this new edition, this is actually the second edition. The first edition came out in 2017, but a lot has changed since then. So in this new edition, I'm being honest to what the economy looks like, to what their choices really are, and I'm having an open conversation with them about the importance of options. And and let that be, you know, that fire that ignites what you decide to do and how you decide to be intentional about your life. And in the chart that I'm creating, that really shows them lifestyle at different levels based on what they need, what they want, and what they can have out of life. The point of measure really becomes how they use their power. So I'm going to show them how to first find their power and really translate that into action, which is one of the first strategies that I'm also going to introduce for today's topic.
Right. I love this. And maybe we'll just jump right in.
Yeah.
And anything else we can kind of pull in and out with these 7 strategies. You have just such a, just listening to them, I want to hear more.
Okay. It's exciting.
Okay. So the first one, and stay at his feet. Could you talk about that?
So, all right. So in it, I say, stay at his feet, watch what you eat, make sure you pay close attention to the people you meet. And I say those 3 things within that one principle because really it all speaks to mindfulness, and positioning yourself. So to the point of mindfulness. To the point of mindfulness, watch what you eat. When I say watch what you eat, I mean watch what you say, because our words dictate our future. Watch what you hear, because those words, they ignite and incite our spirit. Watch what you're around, because that environment, it feeds your spirit and it feeds your mind. And in that mindfulness, if you're at the position of God's feet, if you're at the position of servitude, if you're at the position of emptiness, right? And emptiness doesn't mean that you're not full of a lot that you can pour, but full of readiness to receive and readiness to hear what God has to say. Because when you're mindful of what you're saying and you're mindful of what you're hearing and you're mindful of the environment around you, now you are so close to hearing exactly what God has to say, because you remove the distractions of environment, of self-talk, and of things that are negative to the goal of getting through whatever issue or challenge that is in front of you that you need to overcome. So it's really in that mindset training and positioning, staying close.
And you call that just staying close to that, staying at his feet.
Stay at his feet. Watch what you eat. We literally are what we eat. And be sure to pay close attention.
And you said that's more than food.
It's so much more than food. It's music, it's self-talk, it's environment. And we would be remiss to not give music the power that it has. I think we all get really lost in the power of music sometimes, and it's unfortunate, because that is a direct line to our unconscious mind, into our subliminal mind. And our unconscious mind and our subliminal mind feeds our conscious mind, and it feeds what we say when we're not thinking about what we say. So if something is that powerful that it can influence what you say, without thinking about what you say. Think about that. Right. Imagine what is making you think that you might not even be saying out loud. And I talk about that saying out loud part as we get into the other strategies.
Sure. And I'm thinking, you know, many of our young people, and even being a counselor, I'm watching messages and subliminal messages about suicide and other things that is being fed into the mind, and that is directing that person's actions, reactions, their thinking.
It feeds their spirit.
Wow.
It feeds their spirit.
Yeah, and the soulish man
Mm-hmm.
absorbs these,
Mm-hmm.
and then of course our spirit can't rule. The
Absolutely.
spirit man can't rule.
And anyone who doesn't respect the principle of acknowledging self-fulfilling prophecy of what we say to ourselves and equally what we hear and voluntarily and we feed into our bodies is choosing foolishness. And I say it boldly because the music that they add to it is only a way to massage it reaching into your spirit. But to not give it the strength that it has is it's willful ignorance. And we must remain more mindful of what we put in ourselves.
I like that.
Yeah.
And just say that little
yeah, so I would say it one more time.
Yes.
Stay at his feet. Right, that's what you need to be listening to. That's what I'm listening to sermons. I'm listening to my gospel music. I'm reading in my devotion. I'm reading in my Bible. I'm going to Bible study. And it's not that everyone who I'm always around, is some holy roller who's always repping for God. But I'm discerning of their spirit and I'm discerning of their energy because spirits are contagious.
Right.
Again, always be mindful of the company you keep.
And if you're around them and they're draining you, I tell people that I leave and I'm down. Right. That may not be the healthy person to be around.
Right. And that takes the mindfulness. It takes awareness of really doing an inventory of how did I talk to myself today? This could be your daily journal. This could be your weekly journal. This could be hopefully at least weekly. This is something I do with my therapist. How am I talking to myself? How am I treating myself? Am I going to the doctor? Yeah. Am I eating well? Who am I around? How did they make me feel? Why was I around them? Was I around them because of this goal that I have that I'm saying right now I'm having a challenge reaching? Because if I'm not around them for that reason, and there might be another, is that other reason a part of my goals too? Yeah. You understand? So just that mindfulness and that inventory of what am I doing? How does it make me feel? And does it feed my goal? Because a lot of us are self-deprivating just in the unconscious choices we make of what we eat. Yes. Of what we eat, of where we decide to be, of the people we decide to keep close to us, and the things we decide to say and hear.
Wow, that's deep. Hey, I appreciate that. And then number 2, understanding your value. Can you just talk a little?
So this is the one. Okay. All right. So when we start talking about challenges, challenges in modern day and age usually come back to financial burdens, and a lot of times sometimes they show up in family, sometimes they show up in health, they can show up in any area of our life. And I believe that one of the things that have really kept me the strongest when addressing a challenge is really understanding what's happening, awareness of the fact that this challenge exists because understanding that because is important, first of all, because a lot of people look at challenges as something that is happening to them versus something that is happening for them.
Okay.
Right? So that's a mindset change. This challenge is happening because it's happening for me. And when you adopt it as something that's happening for you, now you're mindful of the lesson from it. And oftentimes when we're mindful of the lesson, we can pass the test that God puts in front of us in order to move on to the next lesson. And when I talk about value, it's really from the angle of 8 principles. So within an economy, within a society, there are 8 forms of capital that keep it going. All right. So, and I'm going to read to you these 8 because I don't know all of them verbatim. Cultural capital, spiritual capital, material capital, intellectual capital, financial capital, experiential capital, social capital, and living or natural capital. All right. And I don't want to go into all of them. I think that that's something that the viewers should look into, are the 8 forms of capital that keep an economy and a society running. And remember that in capitalistic countries, we often only consider financial capital. We think about money, We think about credit. We might consider material capital. We think about assets. We think about we think about where we're gonna live. We think about our car. What do we drive? When the truth is that we should be valuing ourselves not only at the set of financial capital or material capital. We need to value ourselves looking at all types of capital that we possess, and also understanding that each of those capitals can develop if we work them.
Okay.
Right. And when you think about that, that means my spiritual capital can produce financial capital.
All right.
That means that my relational capital and my experiential capital and my intellectual capital can produce financial capital. Are you with me? So it really, again, is a mindset change of not being concerned with what you don't have, but digging deep and optimizing on what you do have. Do have. So when I was telling you about Howard, how I didn't get in there
right. You didn't get in at first.
I wasn't looking for no scholarships on my way to college. I was looking for acceptance. Okay. And I had to contest. And a lot of people don't even, know that you can contest after being either waitlisted or rejected. So I contested. And I knew I had no money, and I knew my parents may or may not qualify for the Parent Plus loan. And if they did, it wasn't going to be a 4-year situation. It was going to be at best a 1-year situation.
There you go.
Fast forward, I got accepted, right? And it was because I capitalized on the other things that I had, although I knew I did not have money. But money was never my mindset. And so many students don't even apply to college because they count themselves out because they don't have money. Right. When the truth is, what you're doing is you're underutilizing the other capital that you do have because you're not recognizing that it exists and that it is enough to get you in the door. Because when I got in the door, then my parents got the Parent Plus loan, so I knew that first year was taken care of, but there was no space for the next 3 years. I had to figure that out, and I hit the ground running. And I ultimately accumulated over $650,000 in scholarships, grants, internship, fellowship opportunities that were in the U.S. and overseas.
Doing everything
I wanted, all on somebody else's ticket, getting paid to do it, quite literally. Wow. And it's because you think I cared about the money? I would apply to Harvard and still not worried about the money. I don't care, because I knew that what was in me from my experiential capital, from my intellectual capital, I was going to produce that other eighth of the pie that people focus on too much. I can't let that stop me. So in understanding your value, one, I think everyone should really tap into what are the 8 forms of capital that make up an economy, right? Because this isn't me just really giving you energy to feel more esteem about yourself, but truly information that translates into what we do know as financial capital that literally is a tool. The same way all the other capitals are a tool. It's all about how are you leveraging the tools that exist in your wheelhouse as they are, giving space to them and acknowledgement to them, and focusing on that. Not what you don't have, but focus on the value that you do have, and walk in that power, because it quite literally is your power.
Not just like you're saying, not just college, but these apply to all other forms of life. Things that you're looking for, things you're believing for.
The job you might be applying for. Yes. I mean, any opportunity in life, I always look at it from an aggregate of my total value that I'm bringing to the opportunity, not just my desire of wanting the opportunity. And that in itself, without making it an absolute principle, aligns with alignment. It's about, you know what I mean? Because when you're aligned, you equally have value. There's mutual value that you bring to the situation as much as the situation brings value to you. And when you remember that everything you embark upon, you're equally also bringing value to your confidence about it, your assurance about it, it begins to decline. And that also can go with the anxiety of the issue itself altogether.
knowing who you are
knowing who you
and what you
are and
possess.
what you possess and how to
Yes.
articulate it and
All
how to
right. All right.
articulate it. Mhm.
Hey, that's awesome. And then number three, which this is great. Exercise.
Exercise. So exercise is something that I exercise my mind
All right.
just as much as I exercise my body.
Okay.
I exercise my body just as much as I exercise my spirit.
All right.
And I exercise my spirit just as much as I exercise my emotions.
So
And
man is a triangle. All of these have to balance. Am I correct?
Balance is
Okay.
and so the exercising of the mind, I do
Okay.
this through mental stimulant apps. So
Okay.
and they have one of my favorite apps is Lumosity, Lumosity.
Okay.
Lumosity is a brain training app. If you've
Okay.
gone to the app store, you can look up brain training apps. And
Okay.
quite literally, it's like exercise for your brain. It's quick
Wow.
math. It's abstract
Things.
concepts.
Okay.
It's being able to follow sequences and catch where there are some differences that pop up, outliers,
Okay.
and just in general, it keeps my brain stronger. And another thing that I do to exercise my brain is Chinese. I mean, yes, it's a hard language, and I speak it, but you always want to upkeep, and
Okay.
I equally upkeep in the language through a Mandarin app in order to
Okay.
brain train as well
Okay.
and just stay sharp in those areas. And everyone
Okay.
has that area where they can stay sharp in. For my grandma is 83, but she still is
Mm-hmm.
up to date in her registered nurse license.
Oh, good.
Right? She could have
Yeah.
let it
That's
go,
awesome.
but she stays up to
But
date
she
every
stays.
year. She
Okay.
still, tests, and that in
Uh-huh.
itself also speaks to brain training.
Mm-hmm.
Never stop
Yes.
upskilling and trying to
Mm-hmm.
understand concepts that could seem difficult, but in fact can be comprehended if you look at it with a sharper
Mm-hmm.
eye. So
Wow.
mind exercise is one,
Uh-huh.
body exercise. I mean,
Okay.
I say more health, more life,
Mm-hmm.
more health, more wealth.
Yes.
It is a natural endorphin that I don't think
Mm-hmm.
any of us should live without. It
Okay.
is an immediate switch to help
Okay.
fight daily depression.
Okay.
And for me, it is the tool that really keeps me energized anytime I'm going through a hard time. Like if you see me working out like crazy, like maybe even twice a day,
Okay.
it's tough on my side. Just know it's tough
Okay.
on my
Just
side.
know.
It's just no, I'm
Just
being
yeah.
honest, it's tough on my side. But that's power that I have in my own physical capital to be able to take control of my
Okay.
day in an effective way to keep a positive mindset on what it is I'm going to
Okay.
do next.
Okay.
So that's exercising my
Exercise.
body.
Mm-hmm.
Now, exercising my spirit,
Mm-hmm.
devotion,
Yes.
prayer,
Mm-hmm.
attending church, watching sermons online, reading your Bible,
Mm-hmm.
edify your
Your
spirit
spirit
man,
man. Okay.
right? And even if you aren't religious, it's about the self-fulfilling prophecy of affirming yourself, because what you affirm you can truly manifest. We become the sum of our thoughts. We are the sum of what we speak. So
Mm-hmm.
equally what you say is feeding your spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So do that in meditation, do that in just stillness and breathing. And
Mm-hmm.
breathing, that is another way to exercise your spirit, is through breathing meditation.
Okay.
Because we see it in athletes all the time. Being
Mm-hmm.
a part of a team sport is great. Being an athlete is it's
Mm-hmm.
exhilarating, but it's because they get an opportunity to kind of live out loud in these short moments. They get to
Right.
yell, and they
Yeah.
get to really like express vigor in
Use
a
it. Yeah.
loud, unapologetic way. And a lot of that can be mimicked in breathing exercises.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just different types of breathing, the way you open up your chest, the
Mm-hmm.
way it comes out. And it,
Sure.
it truly can be soothing. It is soothing to
Mm-hmm.
your inner spirit, man. And it
Wow.
really helps you, helps you
Mm-hmm.
get grounded. And the last one is to exercise your emotions.
Wow.
And exercising your emotions takes a lot of intensity off your
Yeah.
shoulders, first of
All
all.
right.
But that looks like therapy. That looks like having someone who you trust to be vulnerable with,
Okay.
to express yourself to, and maybe that's your journal.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe
I got
that's
you.
your creative outlet. For me, my spoken word is my therapy.
Yes.
So when I
Okay.
write a piece, a lot of it is me, just
Mhm.
pulling myself out of something and into the next thing.
Yeah.
So figuring out a safe
Playing
place,
an instrument.
playing an instrument,
All
playing
of
an
these
instrument
things.
can be
Yes.
where you place emotion.
Yes.
Because there's so many melodies and
Right.
levels to it,
And just
yeah.
and whether even if you don't consider yourself a soloist,
Mhm.
singing songs,
Mhm.
just singing songs that and melodies of
Yes.
things that feed, like you say, it
Mhm.
helps to feed those emotions.
Yes, it feeds those emotions.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's great. I mean, I love this. And then number 4,
Mhm.
train your mind to see a falling forward or
Yeah,
failing
failing
forward.
forward.
Yeah.
So, and that's a concept that I've adopted since I was young. Since I was in Girl Scouts. Okay.
Okay.
Back in the day,
Okay.
because and I say failure is progress,
Okay.
and progress is positive,
Okay.
right? And when you look at it like that, that means the outcome of failure is positive, right?
Okay.
And again, that's teaching
Okay.
yourself to see
Not
the
to
thing
give
that
up.
you exactly don't give up. The thing that was
Mhm.
difficult at first, it can't remain difficult.
Okay.
It has to become less difficult with consistent practice.
Right.
But first, you must try. First,
You're
you must
right.
try. And I remember when I first moved to Nigeria, true story.
Okay.
And this was in 2018.
Mhm.
And I met with this guy. He was a friend of a friend. And
Okay.
he owned a nightclub. And it was a really popular nightclub in Nigeria.
Okay.
And he was my age. He might have been like 30. And he
Mhm.
owned the building. He owned
Mhm.
his own house. He owned his own car. He wasn't
Mhm.
married or anything, but he's popular on social media. He
Okay.
really was anchored as far as those
That was
financial
what, years
capitals
ago or
yeah, so this was in
just
2018.
okay, that was recent.
It was
Yeah,
recent,
okay.
right? And when I first met him, he said, "Hi, my name is Richard, and I love failing." And it blew my mind. Cause first of all, this was just this was a casual. I'm coming in your office,
Okay.
with a mutual friend exchange. Hey, I'm Sade. Hey, I'm Richard, and I love to fail.
Oh my
The
God.
excitement, it was almost like you don't even know me like that. I'm not sure where all that excitement came from, but
I
everything
love
about
to
it made me
fail.
pause and be
Okay.
like, "What? What do you mean you love to fail?" And he just was like, "God, the moment I fail, I'm closer to everything I want."
Okay.
Think about that. The moment I fail, I'm closer to everything I want.
Okay.
That was his mindset.
Wow.
But and he's a successful human being. He's a successful
Businessman. Okay.
businessman. He's successful in what he does. But his mindset isn't to cower away or to avoid failure. It's to lean into the risk.
Wow.
Get through it.
It makes me think
Because at the
about
end,
Tyler Perry. Failing and failing after failure equals success. And that's a
quite
wow.
literally.
Yeah.
Quite literally. And like I told you, when I moved to China, I didn't prepare. I was so underprepared. It's ridiculous. And honestly, I felt like a failure when I first got there. It's not an easy language to just grasp.
No, it sounds very complicated.
Not a lot of people here that look like me. I'm not feeling very welcome. I had a lot of environmental factors that were discouraging and that made me feel like a failure. And I had to overcome that and being able to really become the champion of my own mindset. And I was fueled through family.
Okay. Now, does it help to know that what you're going after is in your view or a possibility, or just like you said, not just jumping off into something that
just random
has
yeah. Well, I'm big on purpose. I'm big on alignment. And in the rubric, I introduce what you just said, kind of as this versus that.
Okay.
And it's sort of a hopeful mindset. And in that mindset, it's understanding that this is my current state. This is that uncomfortable moment. This is that thing I don't understand. This is that period of abuse. This is that period of no money. This is that period of hunger. This is a period that doesn't feel good. But that is the goal, right?
Okay.
And always keeping that in mind, I truly believe keeps a hopeful mindset. But in that, so that means you have to set goals. That means you have to understand, why am I going through this?
Okay.
Right.
Good.
What is the goal of this realistically? The same way, I say do an inventory check for awareness of the people you keep and the things you listen to, and the the things that you focus on.
Right.
You equally want to do that same inventory on your behavior of why you're involved in something. I think if a lot of us did an inventory on our life, even when you talk about career,
what is the reason?
You got a lot of people out here operating as hammers when they screwdrivers. But the reason that they operate as hammers is because they are good at operating at a hammer. It pays well enough, and it creates a level of comfort that gives them no inspiration to want to figure out that they're actually a hammer. Because to figure out their hammer means that they have to go be one again, or they have to go be a student again.
Right.
And in that, it means you're not operating from your ego self. And I want to asterisk that, because a lot of us operate from our ego self, and our ego self needs to feel good. Our ego self savors in the win. And you don't want to ever savor in a win, right?
Okay.
Because you want to keep going.
Right. And
you lost, keep going. They're both imposters.
Yeah. In other words, I've gone as far as I can.
No, they're both imposters. Winning is an imposter, the same way losing is an imposter. They're both imposters, because through both you must keep going. So savor in your win means that you are settled in your comfort. And most people are not operating from true faith because they're in control. And to operate in faith means that you must unravel and not have that control and leave space to receive, to be empty, right? To be at his feet and be empty and receive in order to pour what is proper, because that's the only way overflow can happen. But that's a whole nother conversation.
That's taking it up.
Right.
That's taking it even another level.
And failing equals progress, and progress is positive.
And I think that even goes into number 5, and that is remain a student.
Remain a student. A student. And I expounded on that, and I want to make sure I don't miss out on what I wanted to explain with remaining a student. When we look at the characteristics of it, well, first of all, I believe we should all be students.
Right.
I don't care what age you are.
Right.
Never stop learning.
Never stop. Never.
And if you remain a student, the world is your teacher.
Wow.
The world is your teacher, right? So in that mindset, think about what a student embodies. And a student is supposed to be patient.
Yeah.
Right? Patient until they're until they're brought into whatever it is that they're going to learn. A student is not supposed to complain.
Although we do. Okay.
A student is to remain grateful.
Right.
Understanding that what you have is good, and what's coming is fine, but what you have, where you are at now, is be content, be grateful, because gratitude truly is a superpower.
The Bible tells you that. I've learned in all of my getting understanding, I've learned to be content. That don't mean just complacent, but like you said,
it's not complacent.
But I'm content enough to be grateful for where I am. Thank you, Lord.
Grateful for today.
Right.
Grateful for right now.
Right.
Not what's happening tomorrow.
Not looking down.
Literally, gratitude is such a very real superpower. And I call it an attitude of gratitude. You operate from an attitude of gratitude, how you gonna lose?
Right.
Because you came in winning in your head, right? So a student listens to understand, not to be understood.
Okay.
I had to learn this principle as what I call, I'm a global citizen. I've lived all over the world. And in that, I've always had to remember that I must remain adaptable. And in order for me to adapt, it is not my job to come teach you everything I know.
Okay. All right. That's
or teach you how to treat me and all this stuff. I'm in a foreign land. That's not my job. I'm not in my hood right now.
You're not in your
It's my job to understand. Because the truth is that when you listen to understand, it's not, you ain't gonna say that much after that.
You're right.
Because it's not about convincing them why you're right. It's seeking to understand how what they're saying works. And that is a non-ego self. It's removing your ego self and being available to new information.
Almost like vulnerable.
It takes a student is vulnerable.
Yes.
What all they're doing is being painted and poured into.
Wow.
That takes a posture of vulnerability.
You're right.
Right? So not engaging in the world, because the world is your teacher, not engaging with the individual at the cash register, not engaging with individuals who you have normal transactional moments with the mindset of, I'm here to teach you something. No. Be present and learn.
Wow.
And in that you say a lot less. And the reason, and that only fits, I believe, in the proper environment, right? But I had to adopt it as a world traveler because I talk fast as an American. Everybody might not understand me. I come from a different point of view in a lot of areas. I come from a different point of privilege.
Yeah.
In a lot of areas. Oh my goodness, we are so privileged just when you look at our public goods and access to it in comparison to that of those in developing or underdeveloped countries, right?
Yes.
And remembering, hey, don't be that arrogant American about to say that thing that's gonna offend the whole room, and like seriously, like, check the room, get to know the room. And I mean, it's something that allowed me to always thrive and survive in every environment that I would go into.
Yeah, you had to learn to
be quiet.
Okay.
I had to, and then like I lived in Egypt for a summer. I was a woman in a misogynistic country. I lived in North Nigeria for a year. I first moved to Lagos and was there a year, which is far more modern and liberal.
Yeah.
In the North, it is Muslim. Right. So I'm in fact dealing with the same traditions I was dealing with in Egypt. And I'm a woman. I am unmarried. Right. And all of that matters as far as how individuals deal with you. In Egypt, I couldn't even get service if a man wasn't with me. In Nigeria, in Abuja, I can get service, but it really helps if I go ahead and I wear a loose bobo and I wear a scarf. And if I'm being smart, I'm probably going to wear a ring because I'm going to get harassed less by the police.
Wow.
And I'm going to get priority and top of the line service from the houses who own the company or own the business that I'm there as a customer in. So again, it is not my job to come tell them don't be.
And that helps you.
Oh yeah, wear a ring. Even when I travel internationally, particularly the Arab nations.
Wow.
Wear a ring. You need to look connected to someone.
Oh, wow.
You need to look like there's a protection.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, you never even think about that.
Yeah.
That would be that vitally important, and you're right.
Yeah, you literally get treated like completely different.
Oh Lord.
Yeah. Like completely different.
Now that's an education within itself right there.
And
ladies, listen.
No, wear that rings, particularly if you're going to an Arab nation. And the last one, still to the characteristics of a student, is that they remain prepared.
Okay.
Right? Again, okay. Some people get so caught in the challenge and so stuck in the challenge that they stop doing the work required as to why they're in the challenge to begin with. Right. And let's say for a writer like me, that looks like writer's block. And instead of going through the writer's block, being patient through the writer's block trusting my value of my capital, of my aggregate of capital through the writer's block, keeping close to God and being mindful of what I'm feeding myself in the writer's block.
Okay.
In order to make it to the end. Instead, someone who's not mindful of all those areas, they just might fold and go get a job and do something that is completely contradicting to why they started, what caused them to be in this challenge to begin with.
Right.
Are you with me? So you must remain prepared for the yes. How God gonna bless something and give you what you want if you're not prepared for it? So if that means you want him to bless some new business, okay, you started the business, okay, but what seeds have you planted in the business? Because God meets you at checkout.
You're right.
He meets you at checkout. Not when you need the money, no, when you sacrifice what you have in faith, in promise, in hope.
You're right.
To receive what you're trusting you don't see.
Wow.
Right? And a lot of people get burnt out in the part about being stuck, that they never push through to the end in order to receive the blessing.
Well, you know, everything has a block to it. I mean, we all say that. Even if runners will tell you they hit a brick wall. I mean, everything has an impasse. Everything has a block.
Yes.
But like you say, the push, and I believe that's one word we definitely want to get to in a minute. And we're going to move quickly, but the push part is the one thing I want you to bring out, especially in, we're going to talk about adopt the belief quickly with that fears that you face. Talk a little bit about that.
So this principle requires you to adopt a belief that the fears you do not face will become your limits.
Okay, the fears that you do not face,
the fears
will
that you
become
do not face
will become your limit.
Will become your
just overpass. Just pretend they're not there. Don't face them. It becomes your limit.
It's what my therapist would call avoidance, right?
Right.
And for me personally, the story that I have, I mean, I have stories that align to it, but generally speaking, I'm not a fearful person. I am a risk taker. I run towards the cliff and I jump, and I just know I'm gonna get caught by the Lord. Okay, you can't tell me it's not gonna happen. I'm being honest.
Hey,
but I trust me. I tested it enough. I have tested this water enough, truly, to trust my total capital. I truly have, and I say that because when I moved from Nigeria in 2020, I moved to Los Angeles. And I didn't I am an international business development consultant. That is what I formally do that earns me the lifestyle that up until pretty much 2022 I was used to. And as a consultant, Nigeria was where the contract was. That's where I needed to be. The contract was over, and I had an opportunity to decide, am I going to stay or am I going to go? And I had a long-term client in Los Angeles who over the past 8 years, we always worked virtually together. And I assumed we could do something virtual again. We were in communication after my contract had ended about some new opportunities that were coming to the table. Now, this client just so happens to be involved very closely with Kevin Hart, and he's a big part of his camp. And one of the beautiful things about Kevin when it comes to really kind of sharing equitable material with community is what he has, he shares with those who are close to him. So the studio was also his studio, Heartbeat Studios was also the office for my client. And essentially he said, no, we can't go virtual. I need you here in LA. And I'm like, I am not trying to be in LA. I am not an LA girl. I'm an Ohio girl more than I'm an LA girl. I'm being honest. And he knew I was very reluctant to go to LA. I was in a serious relationship in Nigeria. And honestly, I wasn't feeling very inspired. And God told me I had to go. He told me I needed to get ready. That was the message. Get ready. You have to go. And I wasn't sure what get ready meant exactly. But I have come to a place in my life to where being obedient to God is more important than anything. Like it's literally the most important agenda. And essentially I was obedient. I moved to LA. And when I got there, I'm working at Heartbeat Studios. We got all these cameras, we got all these lights, we got production, all these amazing things happening. I'm a business development consultant. You get like, this isn't my lane. I'm here to support on contract negotiation, on account relationship and development, and really be a middleman when it comes to correspondence and being an executive communications conduit for them to different partnerships that exist. And in that process, though, God needed me to get over my camera shyness. And he needed me to have no excuses anymore. But here's why. We can't be doing this if I didn't get over that. And when I tell you getting over that was like a true fear for me, like I would almost shake at the idea of a camera seeing me. And that was my own personal issue with self-image and self-acceptance. And it was something that I literally had to overcome. And I'm gonna tell you how, because you have to get real practical with it. I would stay late when everybody would go. And I got a tripod, and I would go in front of the psych wall, which is the wall that you see a lot of shooting on. And I would literally just record myself doing some spoken word pieces. And I mean, I would have to take deep breaths and just knock off the jitters, just me by myself. And with time, it turned into, I shot my first video. And then after that, I shot 15 more videos. But it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. Every time it caused me anxiety. Every time, honestly, if somebody told me they needed to cancel, I'd be like, okay. If that's how ready my mind was to pull out. I'm being honest. Just because fears aren't something people just run at and be like, I got this. No, or else it wouldn't be a fear. Right. So I had to include other people into it. Once I start shooting videos properly, now other people are involved. So I can't just not go, because now they're going to be there. So I really got to do this. And quite literally with time, it got easier and easier, and the anxiety started to reduce less and less, until this day, up until this interview right now. I had to deep breath, take a few and say, you got this. Just do it. You just have to do it. And it's because God can't use me as a vessel to pour with the information I had if I only isolated to a room of individuals who I'm with in person.
You're right.
So that means I have to get comfortable doing it in front of a form of camera so that it can disseminate truly to the world. Otherwise, I'm going to be isolated into the room I'm in. So it's something that I still am getting over. It's even all these videos I shoot, it's hard to look at them. Right?
Join the crowd. I'm serious. I'm the same place.
It's not
Thank
easy.
God for Pastor Allen. There's no way. When they said, Dr. Bev, why don't you? I said, no, I don't like the camera thing. It's difficult to go back and even look at the show you just did, or a message that I give. I can't go back and listen because that's a part of me. They didn't want to get up there ever since I was.
But we both gotta get over it. We both gotta get over it.
When Mom made me do speeches when I was a kid, I cried all the way through. but
look at you now.
But look, hey,
a pastor, a first lady of a church, hailing in so many areas where you have to be time.
Like you said, we're learning and we're growing. And like you said, you don't ever want to get so comfortable. I'm told that it's nothing. That means that you're no longer depending on God, and that you no longer need Him as your source. So that's
and I want to say this because our purpose is often hidden in our fears, and the devil works through fears. The devil works through fears, works through shame, works through jealousy, works through envy, works through insecurity. And it was the insecurity that I had. It was the fear because of that insecurity that was blocking me from, in truth, a purpose that is necessary in order for me to do what God has me here for. Right. So don't get fooled. Don't let the devil hide your purpose keep your purpose hidden in your fears, because
Right,
that is
right. That's
almost
good. I
always
like
going to
that.
exist, and you're
Keep
not supposed
your
to be
purpose
perfect,
hidden in your fears.
right?
That's great.
And you're not supposed to be perfect at it, or else he
Okay.
wouldn't have used Moses.
Right. And the last thing you said, which is just so, I'll put it like this, to me, that is the nucleus of everything.
Yeah,
And that is give,
give,
with
yeah,
slash serve. Give.
yeah, give
Yes.
serves, and that giving is a principle that I think I don't I've never seen giving go bad.
No.
I've
No.
never seen giving go bad. And when I say I've never,
Right.
and I don't mean frivolous giving, because God wants you to be wise with what He
Yes,
blesses
yes,
you with.
yes.
So I'm not talking about just frivolous giving.
Just
I'm talking
throwing money
about
away. Yeah.
investing your time in something bigger than you,
All
for
right.
something that will impact something greater than you.
Wow.
Investing your money in that exact same thing, something bigger than you,
Wow.
that will impact something greater than you. Investing your capital, all right? Because time is capital, money is capital,
Yeah.
your intellectual property is capital, right?
Right.
And taking
Okay.
your capital and
Right.
investing it and giving it to
Yes.
something bigger than you, that is not giving you a transactional return
Yes.
in that moment of your own giving. There is no
Awesome.
transaction. It is only the give.
It's only
It
the
is
give.
only the give,
It's
and it is
not
the
what's
trust.
in it for me.
No,
It's only the give.
it's what's in it for we.
Yeah.
It's what's in
Okay.
it for we.
And
Seriously.
he said, and give, and it shall be given unto you.
Yes.
And I always say his blessings will overtake you.
Yes.
That means you're not looking for them. They come behind you.
Right.
And his blessings will overtake you.
And even in energy, I know we talked about that when we were queuing up for the interview, giving of energy. And I mean that in the way of, some people are poor on love. Yes. Some people are poor on relationships. Yeah. Some people are poor on areas that, in truth, if you use the power of your tongue, you can ignite through reciprocity the very thing you yearn for to be given to you. If you feel like you aren't getting complimented the way you would like to be complimented, or go give a compliment
to someone else.
And it doesn't mean you're gonna get one back guaranteed. Yeah. But now think about the power. Right. Yes. A genuine one, please. Yes. But think about the power that you just honed. Yes. Because you gave it gave it away. Yes. If you want a hug, go give a hug. All right. If you want to hear someone say I love you, say I love you to someone else. That's good. As much as you think you're in need of something and you're waiting on someone to give it to you, you have the power to give it to someone else who needs the same thing. And you'll be shocked what reciprocity and what the sharing of energy can really create in the moment. What a blessing. What a blessing. I love it. I love it. It's exciting. And we can't wait for that book to come out. I'm excited. It's going to be a wealth of information, knowledge, and spiritual growth. Yes. Yeah. Because as we plant, we grow. We reap what we sow. We sow. Look at you rhyming. We plant, we grow. We reap what we sow. Right. Getting that from you. Okay. All right. So we're just excited. Okay. And we're I want you to talk a little bit about push as we move, and talk about your website. What's your website? Give us that before you talk about push. My professional website to learn more about my professional services is SadeDike.com. So that's my name spelled SADE DIKE.com. And you can pre-order the book, learn more about the rubric, be directed to the YouTube channel on the book's website, which is therubricbook.com. And rubric is spelled RUBRIC, book, BOOK.com. That's THERUBRICBOOK.com. Okay, the rubric book.com. Yes. Okay. And to what you were saying with push. So push is a concept that I adopted living in Nigeria. Okay. And I had to adopt this concept because it's something that is pretty colloquialized amongst my peers there. Because it's just it's a mutual understanding based on circumstance. And the circumstance of Nigeria is that it is a developing nation. It's not a developed nation. And as a developing nation, things like consistent running water, consistent electricity,
Yes.
Paved roads that are not strictly dirt and just full of ditches, etc. Lights outside, parks, etc. Right?
Okay.
Those are the public goods that are known for any economy, but often not found in developing nations because they haven't built that infrastructure yet. So everybody has a problem. Every day there is a challenge. I don't care if you are rich.
We're talking about challenges.
Or if you are poor.
Okay.
Okay. Your money will not exempt you from a daily challenge. There's another phrase called oyo, and it's a OYO, on your own. On your own is equally a principle of push, because you must push because you're on your own. And on your own it insinuates the government, the public goods that we in developed nations are used to being provided by the government is not provided there, right? So you're on your own. And I experienced this firsthand in a new way, because I would always visit the country, but I would stay in hotels. And one thing about the hotels is that you're always going to have 24-hour consistency because of the generator, right? Whereas when you live locally now, it's really based on when they give light and take light. And they mean by that electricity. And they're not giving it and taking it because you didn't pay your bill. No. They're not giving it and taking it because you're not willing to pay extra to ensure it keeps coming. This is strictly it. As a developing nation, the capacity of their grids can only take so much output. And because of that, there's always going to be a setback on availability of power. So when you're getting ready at night and you're on your way for a date, and you're literally putting makeup on in the mirror and you're doing your hair, and all of a sudden all the lights turn off, it's a don't panic kind of energy. And that really changed my way of seeing a lot of things. I remember I was even doing a presentation, and I was the director of global partnerships for the College of Africa, which is a nonprofit that educates kids from all over Africa, give them free education up until college. I'm doing a presentation seeking sponsorship. And in the middle of my presentation with these dignitaries, everything shuts off. Presentation goes black. You think I stopped talking? No. You think I stopped presenting? No. I knew I needed a printout of all the slides in front, and they already had their printout. And I knew I needed to have some memory to know what is my next point. And I kept going. Yes. I pushed. You don't stop, or you push, because there was this constant understanding that every moment there's going to be an issue. This is the most populated country in Africa. That means traffic is ridiculous constantly. That means people are going to always be begging because there's far more poor people than there are rich people. That means set an appointment with the electrician, plumber, or construction person. Understand that they might not come that day or that time. And they might come 2 days later on a whole nother time when it's completely inconvenient and didn't even call you and cancel. But you know what? You better push through that attitude problem you had and keep going, because you're not going to get them in 2 more. It's going to take 2 more weeks to get them to show up. So that means are you with? I'm being honest. It was a mindset. And for me, it first triggered. And I was on my way to a date, quite literally getting ready. And the once he saw all the lights went off. And he's knocking on the door like, oh my gosh. And he's like literally saying to me, you can't stop. Just finish what you can and we can go. And there was something in that, like, I'm supposed to be like a soldier just to go on a date. Like, what do you mean? Just finish what I can. Use my flashlight on my phone. My battery is low. I can't charge my phone either. What if my phone dies? Right? I'm low key panicking. Like, well, but push. Past it. Because if you stay in it, you're just gonna be mad. And you're gonna be sad. And you're gonna stay bent. And it's gonna turn into your attitude on how you treat others. You might lose your next opportunity because you're mad about something that's gone. And it's over. And I love that energy about Nigeria, because oh my God, that is a place where the financial capital is not the capital that matters, or it's relational capital, it's spiritual capital, it's what you can't see. It's everything, because you must be resourceful, because you are on your own. So definitely always remember to push. Remember to push.
Always remember to push and stop getting caught up.
Don't get caught up.
Hung up. And as we say, that's the spoiled American way. We've learned, I think, even during this pandemic, to get past some of this.
And I don't want to call us spoiled. Let's call us privileged, right? Because I think every society deserves appropriate public goods that can support and sustain you during hard times.
Right.
And it's unfortunate that they cannot have that, only really due to misappropriation and leadership that is not concerned the way a public servant should be concerned.
You're right.
So, we are privileged. Not spoiled, but we're privileged.
And we're spoiled.
We're definitely.
Now, this is the mother talking. Yeah. We are used to having things our way, do it my way, or else. And like you said, the attitudes develop, the attitudes fly. But you know what? A little of this is a good humble pie to learn that, hey, I can push and keep going. Yes. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So we've just enjoyed just this time and just looking forward to the future.
Yes.
We're going to do some other talking, especially with and sharing from the millennial standpoint of view, not just that, but the wisdom and what God has put in and given you. That's for everyone.
Yes.
It can work for your students, all the way from the little ones, all the way through college, and through us that are forever learning.
Yes.
And we have a learning opportunity. And I tell people all the time, there's enough I don't know about the world to make a brand new world. Because there's enough I don't know.
Right, it's a lot we don't know.
And so it's just, it's great. And is there anything you want to say as like closing comments? And we're just going to pray for whoever's out there. And you're saying, I heard some of these principles. I heard some of this wisdom and knowledge, and help me, God, to open myself up a little more to receive what you're saying. I don't want to miss my opportunity. I don't want to miss my blessing because of my attitude.
Something that, and I'll tell the viewers, something that I say to myself every day and throughout the day as a prayer is, God, continue to do a work through me.
Yes.
Continue to do a work in me.
Yes.
And continue to do a work for me.
Right.
Right. And the for me part is really what hits the hardest for me, is because it takes a lot of trust and faith in God to know that at every point he's doing a work for us.
Yes.
And in that, it means that they're actually, I have problems. We all have problems.
Right.
But I air quote problems because with a gratitude of attitude, you are able to sustain and be content as you get through those problems with the understanding that God is still doing the work for us. Right. And what is for us, we cannot miss if we remain aligned, if we remain empty, and if we remain ready to receive and are prepared in that position. So, yes. I would lead that prayer.
Wisdom,
Yeah.
Want to do that?
Yeah. So it's God, please continue to do a work through me.
Yes, Lord.
Right. Use me.
Yes.
Please continue to do a work in me.
Yes, Lord.
Continue to cultivate my spirit, man, and strengthen
Lord,
it.
Jesus.
And be an effective vessel for you. And,
Lord, Jesus.
And please continue to do a work for me. And that is full trust in what you want my life to look like, in purpose and in presence of what you need me to do at this moment. Because God told us to be in this world, not of it.
Not of it.
And so many of us have gotten stuck into the comforts of what being of the world looks
Right.
like, that we've forgotten that our goal is to change
Thank you,
what
Lord.
is taking place by being in it and being a representation
Yes.
and being God's light. So that is what I will leave you all with.
Praise God. Thank you for that statement and prayer. That's we're trusting God. And as the word of God says, trusting him with all of our hearts, leaning not to our own understanding, but as he brings knowledge and wisdom to us, to embrace it and march and walk forward, giving God our all. And remember the scripture that says we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. And he's given us the tools to work with. And he did not create us to fail, but to succeed. God bless you. See you soon.